Astronauts to the moon.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jaron from Jeranism, back with another video for you today. A short one. I just want to ask the question of whether the Saturn V was a smooth takeoff or not. Specifically, Apollo 11. You know, I would assume it was a pretty bumpy ride, but what do I know? I mean, I would have thought that the landing on the moon would have been extremely noisy, considering Buzz and Neil were basically sitting on top of the engines. I mean, it wasn't but, 8 feet below them. But listening to the audio, it seems completely silent. So let's start there. Let's listen to that first. Here we go. We're going to listen to the landing of the Apollo 11. You tell me, are they sitting 8 feet from the engine blasting underneath them? Let's hear.
4 forward. 4 forward. Drift into the right a little. Ready? Down a half. 30 seconds forward. Just. Ready? Contact light. Okay, engine stop. ACA at a descent. Mode control both auto. Descent engine command override off. Engine arm on.
We're home.
413 is in.
Man on the moon.
Alrighty then. I mean, we're going to listen one more time, and this time let's debunk the debunkers. I've actually heard people say that the hum that we hear in the background here is the engine blasting. It's an interesting take. However, we get a little clue. If you listen, when they land, they actually say, okay, engine stop. So we know when the engine stops. So the hum should stop too, right? That's what I would think. That, of course, is if it was the engine.
Down nicely, 200 feet. 4.5 down. 5.5 down. 100 feet. 3.5 down. 9 forward. Okay, 75 feet. Car's looking good. Down a half. 6 forward. 60 seconds. Lights on. Forward. Forward. 40 feet down. 2.5. Picking up some dust. Straight shadow. 4 forward. Drift into the right a little. 30 seconds forward. Just. Contact light. Okay, engine stop. We copy you down, Eagle. Houston,
Alright, we can do it one more time here.
Tranquility Base
Zero
here.
change in hum, zero change in the background noise, and zero change in the level of Neil's voice. Plain as day. Let's listen again.
Contact light. Okay, engine stop. We copy you down, Eagle. Houston, Tranquility Base here.
And remember what is supposed to be happening here, that there's no atmosphere, and this thing, it's coming down hot. The engine has to be blazing. It's got to stop them, and 8 feet from their butts, and there is zero audible difference with the engine on or off. Wow. Very peculiar, to say the least. Equally funny, however, maybe you saw it earlier, maybe you didn't, is the acting job by both Walter Cronkite and Wally Schirra. Did you see Wally fake cry? It's absolutely golden. And it's edited, of course, it always is. You can sometimes find the original, but they had to edit it because it's painfully obvious.
Okay, engine stop.
Let's watch.
ACA at a descent. Mode control both auto. Descent engine command override off. Engine arm on.
We're home.
413 is in.
Man on the moon.
We copy you down, Eagle.
They like to make it seem like he had something in his eye in these recent edits, but if you find the original, it's actually when Walter Cronkite asks him to say something because he's speechless, and he pretends he's crying.
Nearly half of the country's 57 million TVs were tuned to CBS, to Walter Cronkite.
In just 50 minutes from now, well within the hour, the moon is due to have visitors from another planet.
Former astronaut Wally Schirra at his side.
Man on the moon.
That moment, without Walter, inconceivable.
Oh, boy. Boy.
Okay, we're going to be busy for a minute.
Wally, say something. I'm speechless.
He can't say anything right now. He's crying. Tears of joy. Anyway, back to the point of this video, back to the point at hand. The takeoff of Apollo 11, July 16, 1969, was it smooth? Was it shaky? Oh, and should I mention that Stanley Kubrick, who died before Eyes Wide Shut ever was released, however, in his contract, he had it written that Eyes Wide Shut would be released on July 16th, 1999. 30 years exactly to the day that Apollo 11 launched. Coincidence? I don't know, Kubrick just loved July 16th, I guess. I don't know. So, how was the ride on the Apollo 11 Saturn V? Had to be bumpy, I assume, right? Luckily, Neil is going to be watching here, and this way he can recall. But don't pay any attention, please, to his twitching as he watches and remembers this historic day. And then he'll tell us all how the ride was. Let's listen.
Neil Armstrong reported back when he received the good wishes. Thank you very much. We know it will be a good flight. Hey, from the Apollo 11 liftoff. All the second stage tanks now pressurized.
Tell me, in relation to the noise of all that's going on, particularly from ground to the next hit, what sort of noise are we talking?
The noise at liftoff from the pad is extremely loud, and you get not only the noise of the engine, but the reflected noise that's coming up off the ground. And so consequently, until you fly out of that reflection after about 30 seconds, it's very difficult to hear anything, even with our special helmets and earphones and so on. But after you get out of the reflected sound, it gets pretty reasonable. A very shaky ride in that particular rocket, the Saturn V. Saturn V was a 3,000-ton machine, and that's with an energy enough to more than that to lift you off the pad. It's an environment that's interesting. Very shaky ride in the early part of the launch through the first stage. The second and third stages are just as smooth as the first stage is shaky. A very shaky ride in that particular rocket, the Saturn V.
All right, I get it. I believe it. So very shaky, a very shaky ride. Very loud engine noise, the ground noise, you can't hear anything, not even in their helmets. But the takeoff itself, very shaky ride. That particular rocket, Saturn V, extremely shaky. How could he forget, right? Couldn't forget that. Alrighty, and to verify, let's just hear Buzz Aldrin, right? He's got to describe the same very shaky ride. One you could never forget. Remember, the Saturn V is still the most powerful rocket ever, as far as I know. I don't know if Elon's got a new one or something, but I'm pretty sure the Saturn V has never been topped. And they each only went on there once, so you couldn't forget it, right? All right, Buzz, tell us all about the shakiness of that Saturn V.
Here's a tweet for you from one of our viewers. What was it like during an Apollo liftoff from Earth? What did you see and feel during liftoff? And have you ever felt anything like it since?
No, before. I had lifted off in a converted ICBM, a Titan, in the last mission of the Gemini program. I think a lot of people have seen movies taken of the shuttle people when they go up and they're shaking all over. The Saturn lifted off so smoothly. We had instruments that told us we were leaving the ground, and the voice transmissions, but feel it leaving the ground. We both commented afterward, all three of us, that we felt somehow that we were not attached to the ground anymore, that there was sort of this hunting of guidance. But if you look at the movies of the liftoff, it was so smooth, and those engines weren't moving at all.
Ah, I got it. Totally believable, these guys, man. It was smooth, so smooth they couldn't even realize they were moving, but shaky, but smooth. And NASA fanboys are already searching for excuses. Well, in science, you see, when they say smooth, it really means shaky. And when they say shaky, it really means smooth. And they have more important things to be doing than worrying about whether it's shaky or smooth.
Very shaky ride in that particular rocket, the Saturn V.
The Saturn lifted off so smoothly.
It's an environment that's interesting. Very shaky ride in the early part of the launch.
It was so smooth, and those engines weren't moving at all.
And now we get this interviewer. He brings up the moon hoax, but says that 800,000 people couldn't possibly keep a secret that long. Yeah, because the guy who makes the circuit breakers and the O-rings would definitely have to be told. You know, it's like, hey, we need you to make this little button for our Saturn V and this switch as well. And by the way, we're going to fake going to the moon and don't tell anybody, okay? Pinky swear. Yeah, that's how it went down. And then he goes one further, believe it or not. His proof that we definitely went to the moon is that the landing footage matches the craters on Google Moon. Google Moon!
It was, because I'm hanging off every word you say, Neil. You see, I remember. And it was around about the fact that 800,000 staff at NASA couldn't possibly keep a secret.
that's right.
And knowing how people work, I think that's so compelling, I can't tell you. But in that conversation as well, you alerted me to the fact that someone has put together the most marvellous combination of your landing against Google Moon mapping, which side by side clearly endorses not only that, but every crater, the flag. There's been no property development. We've just decided when we look.
Wow, it's just there's so much nonsense surrounding this crap. Can you believe it? I mean, Google Moon matching the landing footage is proof that we went to the moon. Wow. This next clip, I played it before. It makes no sense at all. Let's watch it real quick, and then I'll comment after.
Mike Collins, but for today, how often are you reminded of your achievement?
Well, if I go out back and look up in the sky and see the moon, either I can remember where I was 20 years ago, or I can pretend I've never been there, and it works for me either way.
I'm going to assume that...
Watch one more time and then pay attention to Michael Collins' face after. Watch Buzz laughing, watch Neil laughing, and watch Collins actually turn and try and look at Neil. I mean, this is the dumbest statement ever by someone who has been to the moon. I mean, if somebody asked me, Jaron, what do you think about Hawaii when you think about it? If I go, oh, well, I can remember where I was 20 years ago when I was there, or I can pretend I've never been there, and it works for me either way. What? How? What do you mean?
Mike Collins, but for today, how often are you reminded of your achievement?
Well, if I go out back and look up in the sky and see the moon, either I can remember where I was 20 years ago, or I can pretend I've never been there, and it works for me either way.
I'm going to assume that it was...
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, believe Apollo 11 if you choose. Go ahead, right? These three, they launched into the sky, but they can't recall whether it was shaky or smooth. The rocket stages separated, and then they entered orbit. Then they slingshot through magical translunar injection. Just when they do that, while being flung, the command module, it kind of emerges out, flips a U-turn, grabs the lunar lander. Then the other piece, I guess, went to Europa. I don't know. And then they get caught in lunar orbit. They separate. They lower down to the surface with no atmosphere. First time ever. Easy, right? Land easily on the moon. Get out. Call Nixon on the phone. They get back in and launch from the same craft that just landed. Up and away. Just perfect to connect with the command module, blast back to Earth, and land in the Pacific Ocean, where Obama's there on his grandpa's shoulders to watch and clap and wave a flag. You want to believe that? You want to believe that, and then believe that look what happens when Elon Musk tries to launch a tin can with nobody in it 5 miles in the air and have it land? Oh, that thing blows up and crashes. But 60 years ago, we were just sending 3 people, just translunar injection, and go land on them. Oh, so great. Just magical. Magical. All right, and last thing before we go, got one other thing to cover, is just the press conference. Everybody's seen it before. Let's watch it again, especially one part. The part where they're saying that they can't see stars from the surface, blah, 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 blah. We've heard all that before. But also, we've heard Neil say many times that you can't see stars in space, in cislunar space, the area between the Earth and the moon. He says that. But the other day, I'm watching Byman Dan. Don't ask me why. Somebody sent me there to watch some stupid video. Anyway, Byman Dan says that, the reason Collins says that he can't see stars is because of the glare off the moon when they were on the surface. It's like, hello, McFly. Collins never was on the moon. So when he says he can't see stars, he doesn't remember seeing them at all, he was technically in space. And he was on the dark side of them. He would go around the dark side of the moon. Never saw stars. So can you see stars in space or can't you? We don't know.
I don't recall during the period of time that we were photographing the solar corona what stars we could see.
I don't remember seeing any. I don't remember seeing any. I don't remember seeing any.
Neil, you were a little bit.
Lastly, everyone has commented on these guys' demeanor. We've heard it all before, but watch these heroes answer this very important question. And then if you can't see what's right in front of your face, then I can't help you.
Many of us and many other people in many places have speculated on the meaning of this first landing on another body in space. Would each of you give us your estimate of what is the meaning of this to all of us?
You want to try that?
After you.
Well, I believe that what this country set out to do was something that was going to be done sooner or later, whether we set a specific goal or not. I believe that from the early space flights we demonstrated a potential to carry out this type of a mission, and again it was a question of time until this would be accomplished. I think the relative ease with which we were able to carry out our mission, which of course came after a very efficient and a logical sequence of flights, I think that this demonstrated that we were certainly on the right track when we took this commitment to go to the moon. I think that what this means is that many other problems perhaps can be solved in the same way by taking a commitment to solve them in a long time fashion. I think that we were timely in accepting this mission of going to the moon. It might be timely at this point to think in many other areas of other missions that could be accomplished.
Well, everybody looking at me? Well, to me there are near and far term aspects to it. On the near term, I think it's a technical triumph for this country to have said what it was going to do a number of years ago, and then by golly do it, just like we said we were going to do it. Not just perhaps purely technical, but also a triumph for the nation's overall determination, will, economy, attention to detail, and 1,001 other factors that went into it. That's short term. I think long term, we find for the first time that man has the flexibility or the option of either walking this planet or some other planet, be it the moon or Mars or I don't know where. And I'm poorly equipped to evaluate where that may lead us to.
I just see it as a beginning, not just this flight, but in this program, which has really been a very short piece of human history, an instant in history, the entire program. It's a beginning of a new age.
Wow. It's a tough question, I guess. So tough. What an absolute joke. Anyway, it's been fun. Become a patron. Patreon.com/Jeranism. You get all kinds of stuff. Plus, you get to watch the second half of the Jeranism show, which is every Friday, 12 noon Pacific. You get to watch the second half of the Baby Truther show every Thursday at 12 noon Pacific. And you get all kinds of other things. So do that. If you're still looking for the older stuff, all my old videos, they're there. They're around. Odyssey.com, ODYSEE. youtube.com/@Jeranism. Go there, look at all the 350 plus old videos that many people have been emailing me. What happened to all your videos? They're there. Go find them. You'll love them. I remind you to do your own research, because when you do, you'll never again believe what you've been taught. Till next time, this has been Jeranism. Peace.